On June 12, 1967, the United States Supreme Court issued a short, unanimous decision with consequences far beyond the two people named on the case. Loving v. Virginia struck down state laws that banned interracial marriage. The ruling centered on Richard Loving, a white man, and Mildred Loving, a woman of Black and Native American ancestry who had married legally in Washington, D.C., then returned home to Caroline County, Virginia. Their marriage made them criminals under Virginia law. The case began not as an abstract debate about constitutional language, but inside a home. In July 1958, police entered the Lovings' bedroom in the middle of the night. The couple reportedly pointed to their marriage certificate, but Virginia did not recognize it. They were charged under the state's Racial Integrity Act and related anti-miscegenation provisions, part of a legal structure built to police racial boundaries after slavery and Jim Crow. In January 1959, a Virginia judge sentenced Richard and Mildred Loving to a year in prison, suspended on the condition that they leave Virginia and not return together for 25 years. That sentence forced a married couple away from their families, land, and ordinary community life. The punishment is one reason the case remains so powerful. It shows how segregation law reached into the most private decisions of family, home, and belonging. The Lovings moved to Washington, D.C., but exile did not solve the problem. They missed rural Virginia. Mildred Loving later wrote to Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, asking for help. Kennedy referred the matter to the American Civil Liberties Union. Lawyers Bernard Cohen and Philip Hershkop took the case and began the long path through Virginia courts and then to the Supreme Court. The legal question was whether a state could classify citizens by race and forbid them to marry across those classifications. Virginia defended its law by arguing that it punished both spouses equally. Because a white person and a non-white person could both be prosecuted for the same interracial marriage, the state claimed the law did not discriminate in the constitutional sense. The Supreme Court rejected that logic. Equal punishment for participating in a racial classification did not make the classification neutral. The law existed to maintain white supremacy, and the court treated race-based marriage restrictions as deeply suspect under the 14th Amendment. Chief Justice Earl Warren wrote the opinion for a unanimous court. The ruling held that Virginia's law violated equal protection because it rested solely on racial distinctions. It also held that marriage is a basic civil right, and that denying the freedom to marry on racial grounds deprived people of liberty without due process of law. In plain terms, the court said the state could not decide who a person may marry by drawing racial lines. The decision immediately invalidated anti-miscegenation laws still remaining in a number of states, but the ruling's importance was not only legal cleanup. Loving connected the civil rights movement to intimate life. School desegregation, voting rights, public accommodations, and employment discrimination were already central legal battlegrounds. Loving made clear that constitutional equality also protected family formation, dignity, and private commitment from racial policing. The ruling did not end racism, and it did not erase the social hostility interracial couples could face. A court decision can remove a criminal penalty. It cannot instantly change neighborhoods, employers, churches, relatives, or local officials. That is why the Loving story should not be flattened into a simple triumph. The victory was real, but it came after arrest, exile, years of uncertainty, and a legal system that had treated their marriage as a threat to public order. Loving also became a constitutional landmark for later marriage cases. Decades afterward, courts and advocates would cite its language about marriage as a fundamental freedom. The case helped shape the understanding that the right to marry belongs to individuals, not to a state-approved racial hierarchy. Its reasoning echoed in later debates over privacy, autonomy, equal protection, and the dignity of family relationships. The human center of the case remains Richard and Mildred Loving themselves. They were not celebrities seeking a national platform. They were a married couple who wanted to live at home. Their surname became a symbol almost too perfect for the law, but the history is more concrete than the wordplay. It is about a certificate ignored, a bedroom raid, a sentence of exile, lawyers translating lived harm into constitutional claims, and a court finally saying that the state had crossed a line it never had authority to draw. The next checkpoint after June 12th is how Loving moved from decision to memory. States had to abandon unenforceable marriage bans, but some constitutional text and local practices lagged behind. Later generations marked Loving Day to remember both the legal victory and the people behind it. The case remains a reminder that civil rights history is not only made in marches or speeches. Sometimes it is made when a family insists that home, marriage, and equal citizenship cannot be separated by law. Loving v. Virginia endures because it joins constitutional doctrine to ordinary life. The 14th Amendment can sound distant until it is measured against a couple being told to leave their home state for 25 years. The Supreme Court's June 12th ruling did not create the Lovings' marriage. They had already made that commitment. What the decision did was remove the state's racial barrier and declare that freedom to marry could not be made a privilege of race. The deeper historical cause was a long system of racial control. Virginia's claim was that equal punishment made the statute fair, but the real debate was whether government could preserve a racial order by controlling family formation. According to the legal record, the constitutional evidence was not only the Lovings' conviction, but also the statutory context that sorted people by race before allowing a marriage. The court answered that constitutional liberty and equal protection could not coexist with a law designed to keep racial categories separate at the marriage altar. That reasoning is why Loving belongs in civil rights history as both a legal decision and a human account of state power meeting private life.